What's going on YouTube? Polar Bells here, back with another video, and this is not a Series 12 video. This is going to be, quote-unquote, our start of our Series 13 series. And again, if you overslept, and if you haven't noticed yet, we have the new format. We have Series 13 on the horizon. As soon as August ends, you know, we're gonna be playing this insanely busted format. I mean, I can't believe they did this. All right, and if you don't know what the rules are, well, here it is. It was already posted on Twitter on Cerebi, and it says, as I am looking on the screen, Pokemon Sword and Shield Ranked Battle Series 13 rules announced allows all, emphasis on all, legendary and mythical, okay, another emphasis, mythical Pokemon with quote-unquote no restrictions, right? So what that means is, you know how in Series 8 or even Series 11, you were only allowed a single restricted Pokemon, like a Kyogre, like a Groudon, like a Zacian. And then in Series 11, you had a dual restricted format where you were allowed two restricteds. Well, now, basically Pokemon's saying, all right, you know what? All bets are off. You can play whatever you want. Okay, what a way to end Sword and Shield era with this kind of format for Series 13. Again, we don't know if this is like going to be like officially VGC, but at least for online ranked battles, this is it. So all legendaries and all mythicals. So no restrictions means you can have a full 6 of uber restricted / mythicals, right? And when we say mythicals, we're talking about like the 2 you see on your screen. We're talking about Melmetal, Zarude, you know, Magearna, Victini, Marshadow. These are like Jirachi, Mew. These are all mythicals, right? You know, deemed you know, too strong, quote unquote, to be used in competitive play and have not seen competitive play in VGC. But now finally, you know, we have the option to be able to play them. And now this is where team building gets very, very, very interesting, right? And maybe a little bit painful to a degree. And because now there's a couple of things you have to account for that you didn't have to consider, you know, when you had either a single restricted or a dual restricted format. Because now you got these broken mythicals entering play. And that's going to change a lot of different things. And a lot of different teams and a lot of different combinations. You're going to see all kinds of things within 2 months. I don't even think 2 months is enough time to try out all this stuff. But hey, you know, what I'm looking at, I don't know how long people want to play this format. But hey, for 2 months, I think it's a nice little time killer until Scarlet and Violet. So what we're going to do with this video is we're not going to really do like a tier list. I'll save that for another video coming up. You know, once we get a hang of how teams are going to be played, when we see like a couple of tours. But what I want to do with the video going forward is talk about some Pokemon that I think are going to be quite good, you know, going forward in Series 13. And then some other things that, you know, you should be thinking about that maybe at first glance you may not have considered yet. So let's just go ahead and go into Showdown, and let's take a look at some of these quote-unquote broken, emphasis on broken, mythicals. All right, I can't figure out a better way to start a Series 13 announcement video and, you know, talking about a few Pokemon than this one, right? You got to start with this. This is like, might be the strongest thing to come out of the mythicals, right? This thing called Magearna. Look, it's got the same typing as Zacian, right? Still fairy, so it's already got the best typing. Then you have this ability called Soul Heart. And if you don't know what it is, take a look at what it reads. It says this Pokemon's special attack is raised by 1 stage when another Pokemon faints. Okay, that again, when another faints, not yours, not your opponent's, anything. Okay, so it's like Shadow Rider and stuff, and Ice Rider. You know, like, you know, as one where you pick up knockouts and start steamrolling. You know, kind of like Moxie, but then like now this is just like anything. So I can just see like some silly little strats like explosion gimmicks that people are going to want. I don't know if that's going to be like super optimal, but like this thing can just steamroll teams right away. And then if you look at its base stats, look at this base 130 special attack, you know, it actually has the same bulk as Zacian, if I'm not mistaken, base 115s, right? Let me just take a look at that. I think that's the case for, yeah, it's the same defensive bulk as Zacian, and then the HP pretty much a little bit less than Zacian, but still. Like, and then now you have the steamroll ability of Soul Heart when things faint. And then what makes this broken is because now there's Dynamax, where things are much easier to knock out. So it's just like, oh man. And then on top of that, this thing gets like Trick Room. What? Like, I saw that, right? This thing gets Trick Room. So now you're just gonna add this onto those those Calyrex, Ice Rider, Palkia teams, Lunala teams, and now they're just gonna be like, oh no, now what do we do? All right, it's gonna get moves like this: Flash Cannon, Floor Cannon. This is the pretty broken move, right? Where you get your special attack drop by 2 when you use it, but then that's like Draco Meteor. But like, if you're picking up this many KOs, these drops don't matter. You're just gonna get them right back. So this is gonna be like when you're team building, one of the prime suspects. Public enemy number 1, as they say. Like, how are you going to stop this? All right. Well, you have to think about it. All right, we got a steel type. Okay, so I'm gonna need some ground coverage, and I'm gonna need some fire type coverage, right? So I think in this kind of series, like, fire coverage is like very, very important, because if you got things like this in Melmetal, okay, and then Zacian on top of that, I mean, oh no, you gotta have fire coverage, man. You can't have a team without it. So I could see this getting a lot of play, especially in the early going, and then you put like slow stuff with it, like we said, Palkia and then Calyrex and stuff, and then it's just gonna potentially steer well. So this is one thing I would consider when trying to do your team building. Like, how do you stop this thing? All right, let's take a look at a couple others now. All right, here's another one. Sticking with the steel theme, now you get to use your Melmetal. And if you don't know what Melmetal does, well, look at the ability. Iron Fist, the punch-based attacks have 1.2 boost. Okay, and what's his trademark move here? It's double Iron Bash, so like double stab here. Oh my, and then you get a chance to make it flinch. What? This is just like a better Rock Slide, except now you're using it from a broken base 143 attack Pokemon. Look at this bulk. Base 135 HP, base 143 defense. Okay, the special defense isn't all that great, but like, you get max Quake boost, right? I think this thing gets like Stomping Tantrum. Well, there's Earthquake first of all. All right, high horsepower. All right. Does this get something? Okay, yeah, this is all you need. Double Iron Bash, high horsepower, max Steel Spike, boost your defenses, max Quake, boost your special defenses. What? Look at this broken bulk, and then you add the attack coverage here, and then on top of that, what's more important is the speed. Look, it's so slow, which is really good in Trick Room. Now you can even see like these two on the same team together. I don't know if that's like super optimal right now, but like, this sets up Trick Room, this abuses it. I mean, we're kind of chilling here. And then, this is slower than the Ice Rider. So if there's Trick Room going up, this will outspeed it. And you don't even need like 0 speed investment. If you just go Brave, you just already outspeed it, right? So look, you have base 48. Look at Calyrex Ice Rider. So Calyrex, if you make it level 50, okay, and if you make this Brave, okay, and then 0 IVs 49, okay, then look at Melmetal 48. So you don't even have to make it 0 IVs, you just already naturally outspeed it. It's oh my goodness. And then imagine all 3 of these. No, I wouldn't put all 3, but yeah. So this is another one that you're gonna have to watch out for. And again, just like Magearna, it's a steel type, so where's your fire coverage? Where's your ground type coverage? All right, and the fact that it's only steel type, which is not bad either. Okay, so definitely. And then look at this. What if this got like darkness, and then you put this on like a slow special attacker to drop special defenses, and then now you're just like, oh my goodness, what else does this thing get? You got Ice Punch coverage. Okay. Rock Slide. All right. Yeah, that's pretty much it. These are like the main 2 moves you're gonna be using, and then maybe just add Protect on this thing. But like, I could see even like some weakness policy shenanigans, just to self-activate it, with stuff like Bulldoze. So, be on the lookout for Melmetal. This is another good one that people are going to start using. And, it's a cool design too, I definitely want to use this. All right, so let's take a look at some others. All right, here's another one, Victini, right? So this is another popular choice, and if you don't know what this one does, take a look at its ability, Victory Star. So accuracy multiplied by 1.1. I can already think of a couple of Pokemon that would definitely benefit from this. And if you haven't thought of Groudon yet, well, I don't know where you've been, but now with Precipice Blades, again, the thing is, it's still not a sure hit, right? Because if you do your little math, well, Precipice Blades, 85% accuracy. Okay, then you do the little 1.1 boost, and it's still like 93.5. Groudon will find a way to miss, but hey, 93 is better than 85, right? And you know, you get a nice little benefit from the sun thanks to Groudon's Drought. You have V-Create, you know, and then just base 180. I don't know what's surviving this. All right, you'll drop a lot of your stats, but hey, I mean, you can just switch it out. And then this is like Max Flare, very hard hitting Max Flare. This thing also gets like Final Gambit, right? Yeah, like, and if you look, if you don't know what Final Gambit does, you know, you're dealing damage equal to the user's HP and then the user faints, okay? What if you had this with like Magearna, okay? I think it works that way, right? So like if this faints, this gets a boost. Oh my goodness. Why? But yeah, fine, like a base 100 mon, you know, with Final Gambit, that's still gonna see some usage. I think on a team like this, you can still have like, you know, Charizard. You can even have like Zacian on this. All right, you know, so you have your Airstream user, you have your 2 Behemoths, then you have just like Grimmsnarl stuff, and then maybe Incineroar, maybe Venusaur. I'll just put Incineroar just for the sake of it. So you got 1, 2, 3, you got 4 busted Pokemon, and then you got 2 support things like this. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw something like this, or maybe even like add Yveltal onto this, just to cover for the psychic weakness to Dark and Ghost coverage. So you could even do that. But yeah, I could see something like this coming into play. Yeah, Victini on Sun teams, pretty good, and these are nice stats, like good bulk, base 100 HP, base 100 defense, base 100 special defense. Very nice. It's a nice solid mon, and I could see it getting a lot of uses on not just Sun teams, but just like other teams in general. Like, again, we'll do like a tier list later on when we figure out more and team build more, but like I could see something like this happening right from the get-go. Let's take a look at yet another that I think is also going to be pretty good. All right, here's another one that I think is going to be quite interesting, like the Marshadow. It's a fighting ghost type, always a very interesting typing, right? And then the main move is Spectral Thief, okay, where you can steal boosts before dealing damage, so that's also really strong. And base 125 speed, very good. You'll outspeed a lot of things that, even though you're not faster than Regieleki, that's okay. Zacian's still gonna outspeed you, Calyrex, but that's fine. I mean, yeah, it's not the bulkiest, but not the frailest, like base 90 and the bulk straight around. But what's really good is, again, Spectral Thief. So like if you imagine Magearna, let's put it back on the screen again. Imagine this thing has all its boosts, and then you go for Spectral Thief, you steal those boosts, and now all of a sudden your Marshadow just made the opposing Magearna quite weaker, okay, and now you get those boosts, and now you can decide how you want to play this Marshadow. I think this is going to see some uses as well. And Technician is a very nice ability, by the way. Base moves with 60 power or less, they're going to have 1.5 power. That's very nice. I think something like Shadow Sneak is very strong, now that you have Technician, and then you can just give this a power boosting item. But yeah, I definitely like this a lot. I mean, I don't know if I'll be using it immediately. I'm definitely going to be using this thing because why not? But again, this is something that you have to consider, maybe even using yourself to try and match up with those Magearnas out there. So, and this is Dynamax, right? So like everything is getting boosted with like max Quakes, max Steel Spikes, max Airstream stuff. You click the Spectral Thief button, and then you steal all those boosts for yourself, and now all of a sudden you might be the more stronger, fastest thing on the field. So definitely consider Marshadow a threat here. And let's look at one more off the top of the bat that I think is actually going to be quite decent. All right, here's another one that maybe is not as quote unquote broken or popular as some of the others, but this one, Volcanion, could see some uses. Like it got water absorb, just like Lapras. And then this move, Steam Eruption, which is like a stronger, slightly less accurate Scald, but like base 110 with a 30% chance to burn is quite good. And then if you look at base stats here, it's still relatively bulky, right? 80 base HP, that's okay. That's a little above average. Then you have like 120 defense and then 90 special defense. Not bad. It's got like pretty above average bulk for something like this. And then base 130 special attack. And then it's also a little, relatively so, not like the slowest thing, but like one of those mid-tier mons where like you can do a certain speed tier with it, like maybe just outspeed your base 100s, or you can just make it uber slow and put on like a Trick Room team. Different things that you can do. But the typing of water fire is the thing that makes it unique. Like this thing just kind of like walls Zacian, right? If you think about it. Like, what is Zacian gonna do to this? I don't know, but you know, if you got like Steam Eruption, then you add stuff like, what is it, Earth Power? I think it gets, yeah, it gets Earth Power, so Max Quake, and then you add something like maybe Flash Cannon, maybe a Fire special attack move that I don't know what good one it gets. Oh, it gets Flamethrower. Okay, that's pretty cool. So a Stab Flamethrower. Does it get Heat Wave? It does get Heat Wave. Oh, so then relative, not bad, not bad. So like some maybe a set like this, you know, maybe you take out one of these and you put Protect, but like this is actually quite good. I could see this a lot, especially in a format where there's like Kyogre stuff. Volcanion looks relatively interesting. I would see this on quite a few teams, so be on the lookout for this thing. But again, I still think stuff like Magearna and Melmetal outclass something like this. But this will be interesting to try and use. And another one that's also interesting is something like Mew, where with Transform, right? And you know, you get to copy the stats, the moves, everything. So I think, you know, with these kinds of stats, and then you go for Transform, obviously it can learn any TR, any TM move in the game. And then you can just come up with like any kind of unique set with Mew that you want here. And I'm interested in seeing what people can come up with Mew. I know there's like something called Calyrex Shadow Rider and Yveltal, but like there's ways. Like I haven't like really looked at Mew, of course. I've never really used it. It's never been allowed. And that's the thing. Like a lot of these Pokemon, nobody really knows how to quote unquote use yet, because you know we haven't been able to use them at all in any kind of VGC format. So let's see what we got. But like those are some of my, you know, just right from the get-go, like some top picks that I still think people are going to be trying using right from the minute. But then now what we're going to do is talk about some things that maybe you have to also consider when you're building your team. And I'm not talking about like mythical stuff, but like just how you structure your team. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about. Okay, so what I'm going to look at here is, you know, just how you use your restricteds, I think is going to change in Series 13. Like a lot of these restricteds normally can be like offensive, but then, you know, you also have to consider that they can also be supportive. So something like Yveltal and Calyrex are like prime targets of this. Like let's say you have Zacian Kyogre already. Like your offense is going to come from these two, and then also a little bit of Calyrex. But like then you have two more slots. Like you don't need to add more offense here. Like you already have enough damage, and especially with Dynamax. But like what about like damage mitigation and stuff like that? Like are you going to be able to fit that onto your team, or are you just going to add like two more broken base 600 stat mythical / restricted onto this? Like I could see like Yveltal doing on a team like this something like Tailwind, right? Because Yveltal is the only restricted that gets Tailwind, okay? And you're gonna need speed control at some point, right? Like right now you have nothing. You have no speed control. Like this is a max airstream user. This has Tailwind. I would imagine Yveltal on a team like this, like in a more supportive role. I don't think it's an offensive threat on teams like this anymore. I think you want to use it as something that can weaken your opponent and give yourself some kind of advantage. And I think something like Tailwind, Snarl, and then maybe even like Foul Play, you know, these are all things that Yveltal can, you know, add to your team and, you know, just make it a little bit better than it was even without it. And, you know, Tailwind's really nice because, like, again, being the only restricted that gets it, I think it's quite useful. And you have that dark typing, all right? And we always can't stress enough about the dark flying typing. It's also a very, very good combination. And then something like Calyrex, yes, you have the broken Astral Barrage with no drawback, but then, like, I think that's your only offensive move, honestly. I think you go, again, with something like Snarl and then something like Will-O-Wisp, okay? You know, just like a supportive Calyrex set. And this is how you have to maybe consider trying to use some other restrictors, right? You can't just have 6 mons of offense, right? That makes no sense. You got to have some support somewhere. And I think how people start utilizing, you know, their restricteds in a more supportive way is going to show on some of these good teams. Like even something like Zamazenta. Zamazenta, for you know, the longest time was like, why would you even consider this? You're wasting a restricted slot. But the thing is, now there is no restricted. There is no restriction on how many legendaries you can use now. So now Zamazenta is arguably the best supportive restricted. Okay, because you got stuff like coaching. All right, you can coach, you know, your strong physical attackers. You get stuff like Snarl. You get stuff like Wide Guard. You know, What else do you get? I think this thing gets Scary Face and Helping Hand. Yeah, look, Helping Hand, Scary Face. This thing even gets screens. I don't know if screens are gonna be that good, but you know, well, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like, the thing is, this is how you have to try and use some of your slots, right? You can't just have 6 Omphess and Bonds. You got to have some support somewhere, right? And I definitely think something like Zamazenta and maybe even like a supportive Yveltal set can be really good on some of these other teams, you know, that could really use it. Okay, so that being said, what are some other non-restricted Pokemon that can support the team that maybe you don't want to commit a restricted slot to? Let's take a look at those. Okay, so now again, here we are. We have Incineroar. When you're team building, right now, you have to ask yourself, do I add Incineroar to my team? Do I add damage mitigation? Do I add Fake Out? Do I add, you know, parting shot stuff? So we know what Incineroar can do, right? And it's always been the king of VGC. You know, I'll just put a basic set here. And, you know, but now you have to ask yourself, do I want Incineroar or do I want to just kick this to the curb and add some other broken base 600 stat Pokemon that can, you know, do like big damage? Is it worth giving a slot to Incineroar in this case over something like that? You know, you have to ask yourself that when you're building your team. All right, another one that can really help is something like Regieleki. And again, you know, speed control is going to be key. I think you're going to see less max airstream users and just like straight up more bulk and offense. But, you know, if you can get like speed control with Electroweb stuff, then I think it just makes your team a little bit better. So you have to ask yourself, like, do I find a slot for Regieleki? Like, can it be Incineroar and 5 busted Pokemon? Can it be Regieleki, Incineroar, and 4 busted Pokemon? Something like that. I don't think you see all 6 mythicals. I really don't. I think the best teams are going to have, like, Incin, maybe 1 more support mon, and then, like, 4 busted Pokemon. I think that's how you want to try and play this. And another one that I'm also thinking about is the Amoonguss, right? Because, again, Amoonguss and Trick Room is still a menace. It's still, like, you could have base 1000. It means nothing if you're going to sleep 3 turns and then getting knocked out in 2 turns, right? So, you know, clicking the Spore button and then having your busted restricted KO their busted restricted while it's sleeping is you know, something that, you know, you have to consider. Like, do I put this on my Trick Room team? Can I afford it? All right, you know, it still give me redirection. So, yeah, which is also a thing that a lot of VGC teams want, but maybe not so much in this kind of format. We'll have to wait and see, but I still think there is some merit to something like with these 3. And I think there is another one that I'm also thinking about. And of course, you know, why not? I mean, Grimmsnarl, screen support. You got busted Melmetal coming in with broken, you know, Dynamax moves, Magearna. You got all these new, you know, base 5,000 stat Pokemon coming in. You got to slow them down, right? And, you know, screens are always relatively good. So, like, I could see Grimmsnarl, I could see Incineroar, and then 4 other busted Pokemon. It's just, like, these 4, I think, maybe not all 4, obviously, but, like, these 4, some combination of 1 or 2 of them have to be on a good team, right? I don't think you can just, again, go 6 straight offense. I think you need, like, Incin, I think you need Grimmsnarl, or you need, like, Aleki Grimmsnarl, or Aleki Incin, stuff like that. I still think these Pokemon are going to find themselves on these teams, right? So we'll see. We'll have to wait and see. But again, that's what you have to ask yourself. Am I just going to go 6 broken stuff, or can I find support with these 4 on the field? So something you want to consider. All right. The last thing I also want to say with certain mons that could see a rise, I think fire types again are very, very strong, and this might be the time where finally Ho-Oh gets to shine. Like, you think about Ho-Oh and you say, all right, you know, this thing just gets Intimidate spammed. It does well in Zation, but I don't really want to dedicate a restricted slot to it. But, you know, now where there's no limit to how many Ubers you can have on your team, you know, I think this is finally Ho-Oh's chance. And something like Sacred Fire is just very, very good against these big steel types, right? So if you can burn the Zation, burn the Magearna, burn the Melmetal, you know, these are all things that, you know, don't want to take a fire attack from something like a Ho-Oh. And, you know, again, the Ho-Oh gets max airstream. Okay, and you know, I think Airstream is, you know, gonna be far and few, not far and few. I shouldn't say that. I think you'll see less of it as opposed to, you know, other kinds of formats. But you know, because Ho can give you that tool, I think it has some nice usage now. I would definitely consider giving it a slot, because these steel types are bulky. Okay, and you need some big damage dealer to hit it, and Ho can do that with, you know, base 130 attack, Sacred Fire. I think it's quite useful here. So definitely want to see how Ho can do against some of these big steel types. I think even something like Charizard is still going to be like very broken. Like you need it, right? Because like, how are you going to be dealing all this damage, you know, if all these things are going to be bulky, right? You need something to break them. Okay, and I think Zard can do that as well. So definitely want to consider Ho-Oh adding Ho-Oh to your squads, right? And you know, even if you don't run a Sun team, you might even want to try and fit a Charizard on there somehow. Okay, but I definitely think Ho-Oh definitely merits a slot, at least on some of these other teams. So definitely consider that. But let's go ahead and wrap this up here. All right, so what we're gonna do is, like, you know, we'll give you like a standard, not a standard set. We'll give you like a starting 6, what I think could be a decent squad. And again, I have no way of knowing, you know, just from the get-go, but I want to see how something like this does. But you know, if you consider like Calyrex Ice Rider, okay, and the most common partner that it has is something like a Palkia. Okay, so you start with these two. Imagine this was a dual restricted format. Now you just add a bunch of support mons on it. But now what you can do is add something like you can add something like a Magearna. Okay, so now you have two things that can steamroll when things get knocked out, and that's just very threatening. You know, Instin's not going to do anything to this thing, not really, because you're well, not so much, because you know you're a special attacker, you don't really care about Intimidate, and then you even add something like, you know, Grimmsnarl, and then even something like, now you can add Lunala onto something like this, and now all of a sudden you have like these bulky restricted Pokemon that can like set up Trick Room and then, you know, just sit in front of you and just dish out damage. And because they're all so bulky, you know, what do you even do? And then you just add something like either Incineroar or Amoonguss. Okay, let me just move it here, something like this. Like, you could even put like, maybe even take out the Lunala and add Amoonguss, right? Or even take out the Magearna and add Amoonguss, something like this. But this is what I mean, right? You have your 3 to 4 busted legendaries, and then you add some support options like an Incineroar or a Grimmsnarl, right? You know, you just need to like Intimidate, pivot out, you know, get into one of your Trick Room sweepers or Trick Room setters, and then just pick one of the Dynamax, and the other one can just come in and finish things off, right? So something like this could be a team, or something like the Victini Groudon team that we just built in 5 seconds. That could be something that you might consider, but this is what I mean. You know, I don't think you just go 6 mythicals, right? I still think you need 2 slots at least dedicated to supporting your squad. So again, that's where I'll end it here. Again, we'll do like a tier list as we learn more and explore more with the format, but I just wanted to get something out there just to give you some things to think about and consider when you're building your squads, getting ready for Series 13. So let me know what kind of teams you're gonna try. Let me know what uber mythical that you're gonna be trying to build your squads around, and how many mythicals are you going to put on your squad, right? And are you going to add Incineroar? Are you going to add Regieleki? Are you going to put a Grimmsnarl? Are you going to put an Amoonguss? Are you going to put anything that's not a mythical on your team? I want to know. Put it in the comments below, and you know, we'll just use the rest of our August. We're going to slug out Series 12 with the rest of the way. You know, we got our last few rentals that we want to end the format with. World Championships are coming, and then we got this little funny Series 13 format for 2 months that we get to play around with. So let me know, and we'll be back with another video in the next one, guys. Peace out, and have a good night.